This is episode 267 of Jumblethink.
T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Jumblethink, where we interview amazing entrepreneurs about their journey of turning dreams and ideas into reality. Along the way, we're going to share some tips on how you can turn your own dreams and ideas into reality too. On today's show, we are talking to Dan Greenwald. More about Dan in a moment. Whether you're a new listener or a longtime fan, if you haven't subscribed to Jumblethink already, right now is the best time to do it. Head on over to your favorite place to listen to podcasts, search for Jumblethink, and click that subscribe button. Now let's jump into today's show. Hey there, welcome to Jumblethink. My name is Michael Woodward. I am your host. We have a killer show lined up for you today. Before we get rolling, we want to take a moment and thank the people who make today's show possible, our sponsors. First off, we want to thank our friends over at Penji, your source for unlimited graphic design at a low monthly rate. They are doing cool stuff. Head on over to penji.co, use the code JUMBLE, and get 15% off your first month. We also want to thank our friends over at NorthAmericanTEFL.com. They help you get the certification you need so you can teach English as a foreign language. That helps you get visas to travel the world and teach while you do it. Head on over to NorthAmericanTEFL.com to learn more about what they are doing. Today on the show, our guest is Dan Greenwald. He is the founder and guy behind 3010.0. You can check them out at 3010.0.com. Now, what do? They help people overcome the things holding them back. Dan knows this firsthand because he used this method to conquer stuttering, become a teacher, and now start his own business helping other people do that too. It's a super fun story and a great conversation. So let's jump on into our conversation with today's guest, Dan Greenwald. We are with Dan Greenwald. All right, welcome.
Thanks, man.
I am here at Podcast Row. We're doing interviews with a bunch of really cool entrepreneurs, people doing amazing things. You're here. Tell us a little bit about your story.
My story. Well, the story is huge, but or short, depending what you ask. A bunch of years ago, I was hit with a heavy dose of life is really short.
Okay.
Right. We all get hit with it. Everybody does. It's part of being a human being.
Right.
And what came out of it is 3010.0.
Okay.
And what it does, 3010.0 helps people and also their companies get what they want.
Okay.
And what it does is this what you want me to do?
Yeah.
Just jump into that?
Yeah.
So what it does is it's a methodology that helps people uncover their 30,000-foot view of what it is that they really want, not just the generic air is good, money, love, family, but what do you really want?
Yeah.
And then from there, it guides you through uncovering your 10,000, which are your different priorities needed to achieve your 30, which drive your zeros, your daily actions that are quantified to help you achieve your 30. So that's my story. I have 2 boys, another kid on the way.
Yeah.
Married to the lovely Babette Marciano, the famous artist.
Okay.
Brings me here today. Psyched to be here, Mike.
So excited to have you. All right. We're going to talk a little bit about the 3010.0 process and what that looks like. But
sure.
I want to step back and hear the story that got you to here. Become an entrepreneur? How did you get to this place of launching this 3010.0 company and the process of that?
Sure. By the way, side note, my older brother likes to bust balls in a very loving way, calls it 0 dark 30. So,
yes.
Yeah. So it makes sense. How did I come to be here? That's really not my story to tell, but I'll be happy to tell it. The way that I see it is that, a few things. One, I grew up with a stutter.
Okay.
A pretty significant stutter. And that for most of my life till I was about, I would say 22. kind of held me back a little bit. So I grew up with this. I know I could do more. I have more in me, but the running away from shame, which is probably the ultimate motivator in people, was there kind of driving. So I grew up with this kind of dichotomy between really desiring to be true to myself and trying to avoid shame. And what do? And then eventually I dealt with the stutter. I was ready. And a good friend of mine she whipped out a list of 4 different people for me to talk to. One of them was just works out as it does. Came out of a month-long intensive, determined never to have my stutter impact me, decide which way I go, and I got a job teaching 4th grade in the Heights here in New York City.
Wow.
So just went right in and never really looked back, to be honest. And education, I appreciate the craft of education. I love it. I love, and so I have a master's in curriculum design. I like building things with process and structure with a target at the end. And given the reality that there needs to be flexibility because you're dealing with human beings. And that just led me through in the world of, teaching for a number of years, curriculum development, administration, then was hit with I need to make more money. And in not the most healthy way, now that I look back on it, I kind of see that I was looking at money as an idol, as a false idol, thinking that this is going to solve everything. And so went into real estate while I was teaching, and that kind of took off a little bit nicely, but it wasn't where it was at for me. Eventually made my way back into the education, the for-profit side, ed tech, and then started to consult with other companies outside of education. And along the way, got hit with the dose of life is really short. I had a number of people around me very close to me pass away.
Wow.
5.
Wow.
Two of which were my parents. Within a very short period of time. And I was figuring what's most important to me. And I've always been a fan of different type of teachers and always trying, and eventually 30-10-0 wasn't something that I built to try to sell. It was my own personal methodology, spreadsheet to help get me out of my own way, to keep me super focused, tied into what I really cared about. And lining up a metric-driven guide that's not dependent on my own willpower and emotions to go off and achieve. And then as I was doing consulting work, as a teacher does, you try to use your own life and stuff to help guide people through it. They saw what I was doing, and they said, forget about this consulting stuff. We want that. We'll pay you for that. Thus, about 9.5 months ago, emerged 30-10-0.
Super cool. You mentioned here a couple times the life is short kind of philosophy that people often say, hey, life is short, and they reach a pivot point in their life where it's like, I have everything in front of me. I can accomplish anything. I can go do it, and I'm going to seize it. And then they reach a point where maybe it was disappointment or dissatisfaction, whatever it is for them, that they go, maybe those dreams aren't going to come to pass. Maybe those things that I've been longing for aren't realistic. And they start looking at, I only have so much longer, I'm 38, so you might go, hey, I have 60 years left, or less. And so what are those things? You talked about a series of people that passed away in your own life that impacted you to say, life is short. What is going on here? And reassess what you value. What are the kind of things that you see trigger that kind of question for many people and start this journey that you went on and now have created your program for? What are the things that you see as those pivot points, those transformation points of saying, I can take the world to all of a sudden what am I really here for?
Or I would even say enough. It's enough. I'm done. Enough. Whether it's with work, whether it's you go through a health scare, whether you get hurt, whether there's loss. Listen, it's part of the human condition. That's part of what makes us humans. Pros and cons, right? We can't have the great without the low. There's night, so there could be day. This is the same kind of concept there. So there's all sorts of different different things that I think trigger that life is short. The flip side of saying life is short, right? It's we have 3 different guiding principles.
Okay.
Which is time is the greatest commodity. It's not money.
Yeah.
It's time.
Yeah. And in an entrepreneurial space, that's one of the arguments for entrepreneurship over even like small business is so often we're trading time for money. And that's not a good transaction because time is something that we run out of. Money is something that we can accrue, gain, lose.
That's right.
It changes. And there's a valuation there.
Yeah.
Of what is significant to you.
That's right.
As people hit these experiences that trigger, we hear the midlife crisis and the man who's like thinking, what do I have to live for? So he goes buys the Porsche to try to fill that void or that question or get an answer. What are the responses that you typically see in this process of they hit that pinnacle of this isn't going to work anymore?
So okay. Excellent question.
Okay.
It varies, obviously.
Okay. Yeah.
It varies in all sorts of different ways. There's the person, there's the 37-year-old who just had 2 kids, and she used to be a really successful corporate person, and now what, where, how, what do I do? The fire is different. It's shifted.
Yeah.
That's one. There's someone who they're 62. They have done a lot, accomplished a lot, can't stop accomplishing, but they know that there's what am I going to just be on the road of continuously accomplishing?
Yeah.
For what? Why?
Yeah.
There's the person of I had a big health scare. Really big health scare.
So almost a fear.
Yeah.
Of like I have to be a steward of what I do have.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And it's not even values. It's the classic question of what do you want?
Yeah.
And it's different for everyone.
I think that's funny that you use that line, what do I want? I tell this story a lot on the show, just kind of refresh some people's memories. But I worked at a church for several years, and the church couldn't afford to pay me. So I ended up working for a friend of mine and then buying out his company and another company and building up my own web agency, and we did really, really well. And I'm sitting there with my business coach, and he looks at me and he goes, Mike, this is awesome. You have all these employees. You have built all this success, and you have what everyone says is what you should have if you're doing this endeavor. But what do you want? And I thought that was the hardest question I've ever been asked, because it's like, what do you mean, what do I want? I have to pay my payroll. I've got to make sure our clients are happy. That's what I'm doing. And he's like, no, but you get to choose. What do you want?
That's right.
And it's still a question that messes with my mind, because I come back to it going, what is it that I want to build with my life? What is it that I value? What is it that is significant to me? And I can go down the list of things that are the values for myself and my family and the people around me. I know for me that's been a journey.
Sure.
And it sounds like your program, the 30-10-0, is set up to answer or help people guide through that process.
That's right.
Of getting from what do I want to do to living that lifestyle. So let's talk a little bit about that in a minute. But first, I have 3 questions that we ask as we end this first segment.
Go for it.
The first question is, how are you finding purpose in what you do?
I believe that I am full circle in my life, that I am once again doing education. Now, not in the confines of the K-12 structure and the same drive. Remember where I was when it became so crystal clear as to why I wanted to become a teacher, why I had to become a teacher, is as crystal clear now.
Wow. So you've gone from a place of doing what you knew you were supposed to do and just changing the outlet and how that impacts people's lives.
By having gone through my last 20 years of my life.
Wow.
And going through the experiences that one goes through.
Yeah.
And that's why I know that this is super meaningful to me.
Yeah. But
it's also working.
Yeah. What's one challenge you're currently working to overcome as you build this?
Excellent. So we built it. When someone said, "I'll pay you for it," I'm like, "Really?"
That was a shocking moment.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah.
By the way, it's still relatively shocking, and I'm thrilled and I'm full of gratitude for it.
Yeah.
Just putting that out there. But I started using Google Sheets and a Google Doc.
Yeah.
It was like the workbook, and it was all there. It's still there. I mean, I'll show you mine after. But then we made a bunch of money. I made a bunch of money, and then I put it, okay, what do I want to do next?
Yeah.
And then so I was mapping out what we could do. Do we do this like native app? I mean, we have a proof of concept with multiple people doing great things.
Yeah.
And so I had to decide what I want to do. And so what I ended going with, which we'll see if it's the right choice or not, but was going with, we're building this all out of Wix.
Yeah.
We're pushing Wix to its limits.
Yeah.
And so I have this guy, Scotty, he's great, out of Western Australia, that's coding Wix and pushing it. But 3010 has been around for 10 months now, 9.5, 10 months.
Yeah.
And so the development, I think, is what's challenging.
Yeah.
I've helped others navigate their product development.
Yeah.
First time I'm doing my own product development.
Yeah.
And it's using parts of me that I was like, enough. Let me get back to, just doing what I do.
Yeah.
So I guess the short answer is product development. It's a challenge.
What is the big goal that you have for where you want to take 3010?
My goal for 3010, my 30 is to live in a consistent, strong state and build 3010 to a known brand that helps thousands of people get what they want, and in doing so, provide abundantly for my family, myself.
Very cool. We're going to be right back with Dan Greenwald as we go deeper into this conversation. We're going to talk about what this program actually looks like and how you can connect with him. Today's show is presented by our friends over at Penji and North American TEFL. Here is a little bit more about our friends over at Penji. We love the team over at Penji. Penji can help you achieve more with unlimited graphic design support at one flat monthly rate. Their easy-to-use online platform pairs you with a professional designer and lets you create as many designs as you want. Think of it as your monthly subscription to top-notch design with no contracts, no hourly billing, just fast, simple, and affordable graphic design for all of your needs. So whether you're a startup, an agency, a small business, a corporation, or even a marketing team, Penji can help you with your graphic design needs. And for our listeners here at Jumblethink, they are doing something super cool. They are giving 15% off your first month when you go to penji.co and use the code JUMBLE. So head on over, penji.co, use the code JUMBLE, and get 15% off your first month of unlimited graphic design. We also want to thank our friends over at North American TEFL. Did you just graduate from university and are not sure what steps you should take next? Or maybe you're looking for an exciting career transition. If you are interested in exploring the world while still earning income, you can teach English as a foreign language in one of a dozen countries across the world. From China to Colombia to Japan and beyond, countries around the world are looking for amazing people to teach English as a foreign language. But if you want to get a work visa, the majority of embassies and employers in the educational field require teachers to earn a certification in teaching English as a foreign language. That's where North American TEFL comes in. They can help you get that certification, get more information on how you can travel the world as a teacher, and see new exciting places, and even build a career. So visit them at NorthAmericanTEFL.com. That's NorthAmericanTEFL.com. Now let's continue our conversation with today's guest, Dan Greenwald, founder of 3010. We are back with Dan Greenwald. All right. We've talked about a lot of stuff. We're going to kick this segment off with asking probably one of the most significant questions. How can people find and connect with you?
Awesome. So they can go to the website, obviously, 3010 spelled out.
Okay.
.com.
Yeah.
All of the major social, 3010 spelled out. Or if you just want to email me directly, it's dan@3010.com.
And we'll have all of that in the episode notes so that it's easy for you wherever you're listening. And if you're listening on radio, make sure you just go on over to jumblethink.com. You know that link, and find the episode notes. You'll find the links you can click on over. All right. Let's kind of pull the veil off here and talk a little bit about
do it.
3010. What is it?
Cool. So the idea is that it helps someone uncover their 30,000 foot view. What you were just talking about your, your different companies, payroll, making payroll, that's all at the 10,000.
Okay.
The goal is to get all the way up to the 30,000 foot view, right? Where planes fly, that you're above the clouds and you're able to look down and see things from a different point of view.
Okay.
And the idea there is that you can really uncover what you really want. And then from there, you ask yourself, how is this business that I'm doing helping me achieve my 30?
Okay.
Different mindset. It's different shit.
So that's kind of the visionary level.
That's right.
You can see the full picture, can see what's going on.
Yeah, but there's a secret as to how to go about
can you tell us the secret?
Absolutely.
All right.
Mike, just because it's you, though.
Oh, thanks.
All right. The stories in our mind are what make or break us.
Yeah.
They destroy us or they help us thrive.
Yeah.
So what we do throughout 3010 is that, we teach someone the concept of story watch.
What is a story watch?
It's when you watch your stories and you decide which ones to capture before they turn into action.
So a story is the thought before action.
The voice in your mind, the thought before action, yes.
Okay, so basically I have a story in my mind that I've built up for what I want to build or what I'm going to do, and then I have the choice to either act or not act. That's the first choice.
That's right.
And then the next choice is then I have to write that story. And just because a story looks a specific way when we start doesn't mean that that's what it will actually look like as I write the story.
That's right. Or when we talk about story, I'm just talking about the voice inside of our head that says, I can't buy that company. I can't build that company. I can't, negative. Or it could also be the great things. Be like, I'm going to do this.
Okay.
Right? But those stories, the idea is in the same way how, when I was younger and I had a bad dream, would crawl into bed with my parents. My mom's like, what was the dream? Tell me. Once you say it, it doesn't come back.
Yeah.
That kind of concept. But here with the story watch is there's a concept called state, story, action.
Okay.
The state we're in dictates the stories that are going on in our mind, which dictate the type of action.
So mindset,
sure, but I like breaking it down because mindset means everything and nothing to everyone.
Okay.
So state is made up of your physical, mental, and spiritual health.
Okay.
When one of them are weak, your state will be weak.
Okay.
So when your state weaks, no matter what, especially as a entrepreneur trying to build, if you're in a weakened state, you'll have these stories, actions. You're constantly uphill battle.
Yeah.
So your 30, the way to uncover your 30, or why I think we have such a hard time doing that, is that we have our stories getting in the way.
Yeah. So our stories dictate action. Our stories dictate the choices we make. The stories that we tell ourselves impact the choices we make. Your process is a way to step back and actually take a look at that and say, hey, let's get the story right. The first discovery level.
That's right. Or at least not even get the story right. Let me identify the story and decide if I want to keep it or get rid of it.
Yeah, and I know for me, I talk to a lot of people, and they're always saying, I'm happy with the status quo, or I'm on autopilot, or I'm doing what I'm supposed to. Those are all kind of anti your 30-foot. Those are all kind of, it seems like, hey, I'm just going to accept what I have.
That's right.
What you're saying is it's time to rewrite that 30.
If that's what you want.
Okay.
Right? This isn't for everyone, but the people that are hungry, the hungry people that know that there's more, that they want more, right? That's who this is for.
All right. So they walk through the process. What are some of the questions? We don't need to give all of them away, but what are some of the questions that you might ask to help walk them through that process?
Sure. So some of the guided questions, and this is just to get, your brain, your heart, your mind worked out a little bit to get in the groove, is like, what do you want to accomplish in 3 months, in 12 months?
Okay.
Right. Some of the story watch questions are, try to identify stories that have been with you since you were 4.
So
5.
what's a story for you that stuck with you from when you were a kid up to the time where you kind of decided, hey, I'm going to rethink this?
So I did unearth my guiding questions. Like, you have a story that's been guiding you, and it's all people.
Yeah.
Because we're like creatures of, this is who we are.
Yeah.
All, we're emotional creatures that are driven by seeking the love connection of our mother or father. For me, it was my dad. And I have older brothers, and I have a older brother and a older sister, 16 years older and 12 years older. So I was a young kid watching my siblings interact with my mom and dad, and they were off in college, really smart people. And I'm like, I want that respect that I'm seeing my father connecting love with my brother and sister. But I was 4 years old.
Yeah.
So I set this ideal at a very young age that was probably never ever met because it was foolish.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of what that ideal was.
Yeah.
But that was driving me. That connection of, hey, what if I do this, or if I do this? We all have that inside of us.
Yeah. I mean, it happens to podcasters. It happens to entrepreneurs. It happens to everyday people where they're seeing the story that's already written for someone else, and they're expecting that they're going to perform at that level day one.
That's right.
They come in and, like, podcasting is a great example. You come in and go, hey, I look at my idol podcaster. And if I'm not there on day one, having the success there, obviously I don't measure up.
That's right. That's right. Like my little guy, Marty, he's 6.
Yeah.
He just cashed in some of his points. We have a point structure at home when the guys do good things, and he bought himself a pogo stick.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. He tried it. Oh, this is so hard. I just wasted all my points on a pogo stick. I'm like, buddy, that's day 1. Let's see where you're at in day 10 using your pogo stick.
Yeah.
That's the same exact idea. I think that based on the human condition, I think we all have a guiding story.
Okay.
That unless we decide to change that.
Yeah.
And if we want to keep it or not, it's going to still be there. And I think that's the key of the first part of 30-10-0 is.
So let's talk about the 10.
Yeah.
What's the 10?
The 10s, we have more than one
10s,
usually.
okay, all right.
Are your priorities of focus.
Okay.
What do you, now that you know what your goal is?
Yeah.
Right? What are the key areas, 5 or less?
Okay.
What are the key areas that I need to focus on in order to achieve my 30?
Okay.
Everybody who goes through 30-10-0, they have the same number 1, 10,000 priority, which is strong state. Goal is, what do you need to do in order to be in a strong state?
Okay.
So that's physical, mental, spiritual. What do you need to do every day consistently? And when you start talking about the zeros, which we didn't get to, the rule is that they have to be easy to achieve.
Okay. So 10s are those areas in which they're kind of more operational. But not super detailed yet.
Yeah, they're not detailed. They're guiding the details.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
And then the zero are the zeros. Yeah. Those are the operational, like nitty gritty.
All your daily actions.
Yeah, daily actions
that are measured weekly. It's very careful, because if we put too much pressure on my day and my score and what did I do, your head will explode and it'll defeat the entire purpose.
And we're big fans of like micro things, because micro changes make huge changes over time. We call it micro experiments here. And it sounds like those zeros are a little bit of that, where it's like nitty gritty, but you want them achievable. You want them easy. You want them to be things that you can do quickly.
And that the mind doesn't come and overly complicated, because that's what it does.
Yeah. Cool. I mean, there's so much more we could talk about here. I want to hear one success story or a story of transformation that's impacted a life.
Sure. Besides mine.
Besides yours, yes.
So there's a few. There's a woman now who has been she's been having a tough time struggling getting into a feeling groovy place, for lack of a better word, right? And she went through the process, and her business is now thriving. More so, she wakes up every day and she's feeling good, really, really good. But more so, she knows how to navigate when things don't get good. And that was when I knew it was a success story. She's like, bring it on. Even when things aren't good, I'm still ready for it. And even when I have a few days of not feeling groovy, I'm able to get right back on, and I keep moving forward. And the fact that it's measured weekly versus daily is pretty powerful. Someone said it best. They said, when I started 30-10-0, I was like, I don't know what to do. After they built out their own 30-10-0, they're like, now it's about how badly do I want it.
Wow. Change of perspective,
but it's also you're getting your own mind and your emotions and the ego out of the way, that once you tap what you really want, you're 30, it becomes a power plant to move forward and to go up against whatever comes. And if you know about state and the stories, you're able to be like, oh man, I didn't sleep for 3 days in a row. Of course these stories are going to be stories. They're not mine. I could cut myself some slack. It's pretty powerful.
I want people to remember how they can find and connect with what you're doing. So remind them. So
the website, 30-10-0, there's all sorts of ways. You could just click on the chat button there. I'll reach out right away. Nice. This day and age, all of the different social handles are 30-10-0 spelled out. Feel free to email me at dan@30100.
We're going to be right back with Dan to talk rapid fire questions.
Can't wait.
Chasing big ideas and dreams is overwhelming and hard to do. It's really, really uncomfortable to take a first step when you don't know what that first step should be. Well, I'm going to give you a first step that you can do right now, and that's get into community. A community of people just like you. Entrepreneurs, startup founders, idea makers, innovators. How can you do it? Head on over to jumblethink.com, and you can sign up for our newsletter to stay in the loop of what we have going on with events with other people just like you. You can also find links to our Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter pages where we can continue the conversation, chase those dreams together, and be around other people just like us, just like you, who have big ideas and dreams, and they're ready to make the step to move forward. So head on over, jumblethink.com. You'll find a place for that newsletter and the links to our social media channels. Let's connect. Let's dream, and let's change the world together. Now let's jump into rapid fire questions with today's guest, Dan Greenwald.
Placez votre électrophone à portée de...
We are back with Dan Greenwald, the guy behind 30-10-0. Are you ready for rapid fire questions?
Bring it on.
All right. As a child, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Truck driver because of my stutter.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is one tip you'd give someone with a big idea or dream and they don't know where to start?
Seek authenticity, not approval.
What is one big lie about entrepreneurship you'd like to break?
Wow. One big lie about entrepreneurship. That people really give a shit about you.
What's one change you'd like to see in the world?
Okay, I'll try to narrow down my list here. For one, in America, I would love to see them change the American education model from this industrial revolution model to where meeting our Netflix generation kids.
Yeah, I love that. What do you want your legacy to be?
That I did what I can to impact as many people, that we now have more clear thinking, thoughtful people that aren't about ego.
Where do you find inspiration?
Other people.
What is one book you think every dreamer or entrepreneur should read?
The Checklist Manifesto.
How do you define success?
What it is that you really want.
What is one trend you are currently excited about?
Wearable tech.
All right. If you weren't doing what you're doing today, what do you think you'd be doing?
Teacher.
Okay. Yeah. And our final rapid fire question is, what is one dream you're still wanting to fulfill in your own life?
Trekking through Alaska with my family.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's good. Do you have any final thoughts you want to leave us with today as we wrap up today's show?
Yeah, listen, I think one thing that I've learned is that no one defines you but you.
Yeah.
All right? Not no one. Not your success in business. It's about what is it that you really want.
Yeah.
And no one's going to dictate that but you. And the tighter the focus, the tighter the focus on your target, the more likely you are to get it. Lean into your fear.
Dan, thank you so much for being on the show with us today. I know you're going to inspire a lot of people. We're excited to see what you do and how it impacts the world around you.
Mike, thank you so much.
Once again, we want to thank today's guest, Dan Greenwald, for taking time out to be on the show. You can check him out at 30100.com. All of those words are spelled out, so it's 30 as a word, 10 as a word, 0 as a word. So 30100.com. Today's show was recorded live in New York City at Stand Up New York for Podcast Row. Podcast Row is coming up soon, so go check them out, podcast-row.com. We love what they're doing and hope you can join us for an upcoming event to tell us and other amazing podcasters your story. Whether you're a new listener or a longtime fan, if you enjoyed today's episode, share some love by going on over to your favorite place to listen to podcasts and leave us a rating and review. It lets others know what you think about Jumblethink so that they can tune in too. Well, that's it for today's show. Now it's your turn to get out there, dream big, and change the world around you.
Étirez-vous doucement, mais complètement. En avant, en arrière, sur les côtés. Vous êtes une autre personne. Les mères de famille, les enfants, peuvent également prendre un moment revitalisant. Dans quelques mois, lorsque vous aurez bien saisi la technique et que vous serez maître de votre corps, vous pourrez vous décontracter même en travaillant.